Our speakers today are Neil and Robin Spiritus. Neil is no stranger to the club, as he has spoken here before and attended many meetings over the years. He was formerly the vice president at the Manatee Chamber of Commerce for 3 decades. He is a graduate of the University of Missouri with a master's degree in community development. Since retiring from the Chamber about 10 years ago, he has authored 4 books, been published in 18 anthologies and journals, and also received several honors. His wife, Robin, holds a PhD in counseling psychology and spent 27 years doing marriage and family therapy. She also owned and operated SWAT Networking, Successful Women Aligning Together, a local organization of 300 women. Neil and Robin have 2 children, and just a few days ago, they learned that they are going to be first-time grandparents. Please welcome Neil and Robin.
Thank you. Okay. Just need to get organized for a second. Just do this here.
Well, it's great to be here this afternoon. I have been here to many meetings and greatly appreciate what the Kiwanis Club does. Outstanding work. And I think our topic's very appropriate in terms of your mission and saving lives, human doing the betterment in the community. I would like to thank the rabbi. I don't know if he did this for my benefit, but my Hebrew name is Nahum. So I won't claim being Noah, particularly after your talk. But thank you again, Kiwanis, for inviting my wife, Robin, and myself. We'd like to tell you a little bit about our experience in Israel, which was in June of this year, June 1 to actually when we left, and when we came back, I think it was on the 20th of June. And also our evacuation by a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization, Grable Rescue. You'll see some things on some of the tables. Unfortunately, we were hoping to introduce Olivia, who's a case manager, also the wife of Brian Stern, the owner and founder of Grable Rescue. However, they're in Jamaica with a hurricane.
Rescuing Americans.
Yeah, so as many of you know, that's very, very important. But they are located in Tampa, the organization. Grable Rescued, and also you might notice in the slide here where to start, Israel 2023. We'll tell you about why it says 2023 rather than our current trip this year. But first we'd like to share one of our interviews that we did 2 weeks ago. This is the day before the 20 live hostages came back.
A little closer to home, there's a Florida nonprofit that has played a major role in getting Americans out of Israel since the war began in 2023. Our Tyler O'Neill talked to a couple that was rescued by the nonprofit Grable Rescue back in June.
Across the wall are pictures of people Grable Rescue have brought home.
Here we are, here.
In June, Robin and Neil Spiritus were in the Middle East on a volunteer mission.
The first week we spent helping repair some of the damage done, gardening, in fact, repairing the beauty, because they're in trauma.
But what was supposed to be a trip of giving back unexpectedly changed overnight.
In the middle of the night, we were awakened by the missile sirens, and it's on your phone and in the air. And so we just woke up like we didn't really know what was happening.
This was when the conflict between Israel and Iran began. The airports closed, so the Spiritists had to find a new way home. After many phone calls, they were connected with the nonprofit Grable Rescue. Their mission is to rescue Americans in need.
It took us 75 hours to get back, 3 days of planes, buses, hotels.
Grable Rescue has been working on getting Americans home since the Israel-Hamas war began in October 2023. Grable says it has rescued thousands of Israeli Americans from there.
Getting all those people together and trying to move them to areas where they can actually get evacuations through Cyprus, through Jordan, working with Syria, you know, and dealing with all the conflict that's going on over there. Very, very difficult.
On Sunday, Grable's founder Brian Stern was on the ground in Israel to witness the first phase of the peace plan play out.
Seeing this come to fruition is going to give great closure to the team for something that we've been working on so long as part of this particular mission set.
Through the challenges, the Spiritists are now home and join the roughly 7,000 people that Grable has rescued over its lifetime.
It took great courage and leadership to get us where we needed to go, and we commend Grable Rescue for everything that they do now and into the future.
Even though moving people across borders has been complex, it's what Grable is all about. In Tampa, Tyler O'Neill, Spectrum News.
Grable Rescue is a nonprofit and it relies on donations for support. You can find a link to contribute on baynews9.com.
So,
Yeah, a little backstory, as we mentioned 2 years ago, May 2023. This is our tour guide, Zaki. Zaki was our tour guide in 2023, and he's showing the group that we went with a little bit about our tour. Was an IDF soldier, one of, I think, 2% that came back and decided to provide service during the war.
this is just our group.
Yeah, this is our group. Okay, we're done. So this is on the Temple Mount, that last photo.
So this photo is really important to me because this is the moment where we decided we're going back to Israel. And so we were standing right there, and Zaki said, okay, we're going to go to the wall. It's 12:45. Be back here at 1 o'clock. And then we're going to go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre for an hour and a half. And I went, wait, what? We have 15 minutes here? This is not working for me. And so I told Neil right then and there, we're going to make plans to go back to Israel.
So the next year, 2 years actually, we follow the news in Israel. We were talking about this earlier. Rather than the news here, it gets a little bit disjointed.
But it was-
we wanted to give back, though. That was our purpose.
Because October 7th happened, and so we were not able to go. So that's, we kept tracking the news and everything.
So just to be there, to support, to observe, to give loving kindness to our family. We have cousins, close relatives, friends. It's our ancestral home.
And so then I asked my cousin who lives in Israel about volunteering because we really wanted to go back, and we're starting to think, okay, I think it's safe for us to go back. We're going to volunteer. What did he have in mind? What did he suggest? He told me about a Facebook group called the Sword of Iron Volunteer Opportunities. And there was a post there from a guy from a group called Yozma, which in Hebrew means initiative. And we were on a Zoom call, and we felt we really liked this group. They were going to help us with volunteering. And so we left on June 1st. I'm having trouble with this. Here we are. We arrived in Israel, and we headed straight to Zachi's house because we love this guy.
So here's Zaki. This is actually, it was on a Jewish holiday, and it was like an 8-course meal. He lives on a kibbutz, and this is a shirt that we gave him.
And let's see. There we go. So here we are at the kibbutz that we were going to stay at and meeting our Yozma group. And it was called Kfar Mazarek. It was north of Haifa and near Akko, if anybody knows Israel. And
Yeah, just fun times there. You'll see a little bit of the group. It was one of the industries, ceramic and agriculture on this kibbutz was their focus.
we had a great time there. The next day, sorry.
This is working in Haneda.
It skipped. That's okay. The next day we went to Haneda.
Yeah,
This is
this is a little
Haneda.
further north, near the Lebanon border. And we were moving some items out of an area that was actually a senior citizen center. We cleaned up in some areas that actually where the military were, about 200 military were in the classrooms. They had to clear it out for the classes to start July 1st. So that was within a couple weeks.
So this is the next day.
This is Lahamei HaGhettoot, which in Hebrew, it means Warriors of the Ghetto. It's a special needs facility, and it's well known throughout Israel. This is us working on the next slide. I did a lot of gardening, trimming, manual labor, basically. But you got to realize people are in trauma, so a lot of these things just were sitting for months and months and months.
So this is the next day, and it was Kibbutz Adamit, and if you can see that road, that's actually the Lebanon border. That's how close we were to Lebanon.
You'll see here bomb shelters that we are clearing out in preparation for other volunteers that were coming.
We did gardening.
Some of the work that we did there, actually plantings, put in an irrigation system, actually planted some flowers and gardening activities. You'll see Robin there on the bottom right. This is a missile, actually. I don't know if you see this or not. Yeah, this is a missile that hit. I don't know if you see that slide on the very left. Upper right column, there's still a bomb that hit that facility. That's a library. You'll also see broken glass that wasn't cleaned up when we were there. And you'll see a swimming pool at the top right. That was guarded because nobody went swimming there because they're afraid from above they might get hit by bombs.
So the next morning, this is at our kibbutz, Kfar Mazrik, and it's a dedication for a boy named Yarden Buskila. Yarden was born and raised on this kibbutz. He was 25 years old, and he was murdered at the Nova Festival on October 7th. So those are his parents. You can see there was big crowds. It was really a lovely dedication, a park for this boy. And at this point, Neil said to me, "There's President Herzog."
He wears a blue shirt quite often, so I recognize him.
And the president of Israel. And so I grabbed my camera. And Mac, next slide, please. And I thought, this is the closest that I'm ever going to get to the president of Israel. And so I grabbed my camera. I took some pictures. And then I turned to Neil and said, "Oh my God, Neil, I'm so excited," or something like that. And the president heard me and he said, "I want to talk to her." He steps over this thing that was there. His entourage comes all around. He shakes my hand and he said, "You're American. What are you doing here? Why are you here?" And I said, "We came to volunteer." And he was just like, "Oh my God, we're so happy that you're here." And I brought Neil over. And so next slide, we got pictures with the president. So that was a real highlight of our trip. Okay, Mac. So next.
So,
go ahead.
So of course, I'm the one that recognizes the president, but who gets all the attention? So we're heading to Jerusalem. You can see the signage. Signage was in Hebrew, English, Arabic. I mean, a little confusing, and we learned later that you don't drive the first time in Israel. So I was learning really quickly. So this little background, if you've ever seen this slide, it's a conversation, I guess in the 60s, between Golda Meir, Prime Minister of Israel, and then Henry Kissinger, Secretary of State. It's a famous exchange, actually. When Kissinger told, I don't think you can read this, but told Meir, "I am first an American, second I am Secretary of State, and third I am a Jew." Meir, known for her wit, replied, "Henry, you forget that in Israel we read right to left."
Next slide.
So just going back to the transportation effort, this is the tollway facilities. You can see the different languages on the far right, and then the tolls. We didn't have the SunPass like typically we'd have here. We paid cash for the tolls. So the first time on the far right is where I paid cash. The next time it was on the far left that we paid cash, and I went across 6 lanes of traffic. I should have known that in Israel you go right to left. You read right to left. I guess you drive right to left too. I don't know. So as a result of Israel's, oh wait a minute, go ahead. I'm jumping ahead here.
So the next day we went to Kibbutz Gat. This is the kibbutz that I stayed at when I was 21 years old, and my teacher still lives there. So I got to see my teacher after 40 years, and I tried to replicate my photo, so that was really fun. And then we headed to Jerusalem. And you can see.
Yeah, hardly anybody in Israel on the gates there. tourism was down significantly. So that's what these slides are significant of.
And then next.
So this is the wall, as you can see, and there's very few people here.
Thank goodness we decided to go to the wall on Wednesday because we were supposed to go on Friday and that did not happen. Next slide. So this was a very special place for us. This is in Jerusalem, and it's the Tent of Heroes. And the parents of fallen soldiers and those that were killed in the Nova Festival come and tell their stories. And so it was really heartwarming for us. Next slide.
So as a result of Israel's preemptive attack, started June 13, key Iranian officials were eliminated. There was, I think, 11 nuclear scientists that were killed. Millions of liters of fuel and their oil reserves were destroyed.
So as you can see, at 3 in the morning, missile sirens went off, and we were declared a state of emergency. And so here we are at 3 in the morning going, we can't read what it is. It's all in Hebrew. What is this all about? And so these red dots are places where you have to be careful that missiles could potentially hit. And, so we were told that when the sirens went off, we should go to a bomb shelter. But the shelter that the landlord had told us about was 10 minutes away. So I don't know about you, but in the middle of missile sirens going off, 10 minutes is way too long to run to a bomb shelter. So then he said, all right, we'll go to the stairwell. So when this happened, we ran into the stairwell, but the stairwell was not good because there were windows in the stairwell. And so then I started Googling, you're one ahead of me. I started Googling like where to get a shelter, and I thought it was kind of funny, like how many people out there Google how to find a bomb shelter. But then things got worse, and as you can see, now everywhere is dangerous. And so we decided that this area in our Airbnb was the safest place for us. And so you have to have go bags. And your go bag has your passport and money and medicines and, you know, anything important to you, an extra pair of clothes. Your socks and shoes have to stay there at all time because you never know when you might have to run. And one of the things that we kind of laughed about was if you think, oh, I'm going to brush my teeth later, or I'm going to go to the bathroom in a little while or something, like do it now because you just never know. And So
the airport, Ben Gurion, closed indefinitely. No in or out. There was we heard different reports, 50 to 100,000 people going and coming into Israel, supposedly. So when we found our flight was canceled, we had to make a decision, what are we going to do?
We were told that it could be 2 to 4 weeks before we got out. And it hit me, and I said, Neil, how much extra medicine did you bring? Because that's going to be a problem. And all the things, there's a lot of things that people don't think of in that, for us, we started thinking about things that we had never thought about before, like how are we going to get our prescriptions refilled? And, what about our cat? Like all kinds of things. How are we going to handle everything? Next slide.
So we did have a shelter-in-place order, so everything was closed.
Everything.
Nothing really was open, very quiet.
And that was the night that we had the crazy dinner because all we had was what was in the refrigerator left over. So that was kind of, an interesting night. Next slide. And this is the wall, and as you can see, it is completely empty. For those of you that are not familiar with the Wailing Wall, it is never empty. Even at 3 in the morning, there's a few people there. So that was very different for us. Next slide. So now we're at like a couple of days with very little sleep because the missile sirens kept going off in the middle of the night. And there were messages telling us about direct hits, and it was like really scary. Next slide. And then things got worse. This one was actually in the middle of the day. So for the first few days, we were like, all right, it's only at night. We can, see what we can find during the day. But then missile sirens started going off during the day as well. Next.
So we were a little frantic, checking every lead, trying to contact people that we knew back here. As Robin said, our prescriptions need to be filled. So I contacted some of your members, Gilbert Smith, Judge Smith, and also Judge Melissa Gould. the Jewish federations here in Sarasota and Manatee, and also up in Tampa, Congressman Buchanan's office. And then also, actually Jimmy Boyd's office called Jay Collins, who then was Senator Collins from Tampa and now Lieutenant Governor. So that's
We
pretty
had
much, we then contacted the embassy and looked into what they call a STEP program through the U.S. Embassy.
It was kind of interesting because we were asking friends, we were reaching out to people that we knew and what should we do? And people said, go to the embassy. I'm like, you don't understand. There's no embassy right now. They're in bomb shelters just like we are. It was pretty frantic. And yeah, so next slide. Oh, I'm sorry, go back one. I'm sorry, I was ahead of myself. So I found this Birthright volunteer and she showed us this screenshot and about Grable Rescue. And we had already learned about Grable from a few other places and from the STEP program, but I was still like super nervous to register because you had to take a picture of your passport and, electronically send it. And I was like, I have no idea if this is a legit company or what this is. I'm not really sure. But then I later found out that Senator Boyd, Gary Gould from the Tampa Federation, Melissa Gould, all had contacted Senator Collins' office about us. And so I guess it's all about who you know or who Neil knows.
Yeah, we were guinea pigs for the first trip home.
So that night, I got a call from Olivia from Grable, and she said, hi, this is Olivia from Grable Rescue. And I was like, really? For real? You're real? She goes, don't cry. You're going to make me cry. But she said, yes, you are on the list. And she had told me that Senator Collins' office had called and got us on the list. And I said, I don't mean to be ungrateful or anything, but can you give me an idea of when we're talking about, like how many days? And she said, oh, it'll probably be tomorrow. I'm like, tomorrow? Okay, so now we had to like completely scramble and clear out the Airbnb and pack. And then the next night at midnight, the sirens went off. And we were in our little shelter area, and we were watching this guy who gave us a lot of comic relief.
Yeah, he was, I think he was a one-man show, because he wanted to play back some tapes of the bombing, and it took him like 15, 20 minutes. He was kind of like Howard Cosell on steroids, basically.
He was so fun. He'd be like, wait, I think there's a missile in Tel Aviv. There's a missile. Oh my God, there's a missile. So we tried to have as much fun as we could. It was pretty stressful. But then it got real, and we were watching him. We were watching him and hearing the missiles overhead at the same time. And I looked at my phone, and I see that the WhatsApp chat that Olivia had put us in was going crazy. And people were talking about jumping on a phone call, and then other people were saying, I can't get on. And so she said, all right, well, we're going to do a Zoom call. And so I said, we've got to get on this Zoom call. And we jumped on this Zoom call and then saw Brian Stern.
Brian's the founder of Grable Rescue, as we mentioned. You might want to take this information down. I was going to ask how many people have been to Israel currently? How many of you actually have been? How many would have considered before October 7th going?
Aww.
Okay, good. One of the things that Grable says is we shouldn't be bystanders. So that's just a message from them if they were here. But the owner of Grable, Brian Stern, just to give you a little information about him, a combat veteran, was both in the Army and the Navy. He was a 9/11 responder. He was a Purple Heart recipient. He also was a Green Beret and also recipient of the Congressional Medal of Honor. So here's a guy, I'm glad we got the good advice that we did about going back with him. Although, as some might say, when we went back, it wasn't in your father's Buick, but maybe a Pinto.
So we were called the Operation Olive Shield. And we were Olive 1, the guinea pigs. But one thing that was really funny that most of you are probably not going to get, but Rabbi will understand, one of the girls on there said, wait a minute, Olive 1, that's our group, Olive? I thought it was Aleph. Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. So that would have made sense too if it was Olive 1, but it was Olive 1. So Brian told us about the rules. Like, if we don't have room for your suitcase, it's gonna be left on the side of the road. Like, he said, we're not a concierge service, we're not a travel agency or an Uber or a moving company. We didn't get off the call till 2 in the morning, and we had to be up at 5:30. So again, very little sleep. We left the house at 8:30 in the morning. And, next slide. So this was our, too far. This was our meeting point. What was interesting about the meeting point was it wasn't an address, it was a drop pin. And so we were the first ones there, and we were not sure we were in the right place. And then the missile sirens went off again, and there was nowhere to hide. There was nowhere to go. And so after the missile siren cleared, people started arriving. We learned that over 60 people didn't come because they went to bomb shelters instead and missed the buses. And so,
We hid under a orange juice, what was it, stand?
like a stand, yeah. But as you can see, it was a little bit crazy trying to get 4 bus loads of people all organized and counted for. And then we had to drive 2.5 hours to the Jordan border crossing. And the bus was driving like super fast and winding roads. People were getting sick on the bus. It was not good. But while we were on the bus, Brian gave us some instructions. And one of them was, if you are an Israeli-American citizen, you are not an Israeli-American citizen now. You are an American. If anybody asks you, you are an American. You do not show them your Israeli passport. You show them your American passport. And then he tested us and said, okay, a little while later, he goes, how many people are Israeli-American? Half the bus raised their hand. Like, no! Okay, next slide.
So this is in the border crossing. It took us quite a long time, and actually we saw the sign that's here, entry forbidden for Israeli citizens. Brian also mentioned to us, he said, Jordanians, they love Americans, but they don't necessarily like Jews. So we were cautious.
So this took 6 hours to get through, and partially because we were waiting for a lady who was pulled into an interrogation room, and no one was allowed to go in with her. So it was really scary. And there was no air conditioning, no food. It was hot, and we were with a large group of Hasidic Jews, and they were completely covered head to toe. I don't know how they did it. It was very hot. So we also had babies and children with us. They're cranky and crying. So this 6 hours was a lot. Next slide.
Here we are on the first pick, waiting for the bus, and then this is the drive to Amman, the middle pictures. Just commercial businesses all along that route, late into the night. And then you'll see Brian Stern on the phone here.
So Brian was on the phone because he had heard that because it took us so long to get through the border crossing that we were not going to make our flight tonight. And so he was trying to make accommodations for 200 people, I think it was 225 people, to stay overnight in a hotel in Jordan. And we wound up staying in this great hotel. They had a big, beautiful buffet dinner that I did not get to eat because I was so exhausted. I was like, I just want to go to bed. We were told that breakfast buffet, don't worry that you didn't get dinner. The breakfast buffet is amazing. It starts at 6 a.m. We get to our room, and it was right about midnight. We were about to finally get some sleep, and we were told we have a 4 a.m. wake-up call. So forget breakfast. Back on the bus. Next slide.
So we didn't get much sleep, but here's Brian hard at work again, registering people at the front desk of the hotel. And this is where we met Jay Collins. He was also a highly decorated Army, Special Forces combat veteran. Many of you probably know him. Green Beret, Purple Heart recipient with over 2 decades in service.
And
So on.
Senator Collins is now Lieutenant
Yeah,
Governor.
Lieutenant Governor.
Our Lieutenant Governor.
So, next slide.
Oops. Okay, no, blank. This is blank for a reason, because we were in the Amman airport, more waiting. We waited all day in the Amman airport, and we were told no speaking Hebrew, no Judaica, nothing Jewish. That people had to take off their yarmulkes if they were wearing, I don't know if you're familiar with the seats, the strings that hang down, like make sure you tuck them in, like don't give any attention to yourself, and no photos or videos, so that's why that's blank. But the scariest thing was not knowing what was next. Brian had said he just did not want anybody texting back home or letting people know what was happening because it was just too dangerous. And so we never knew, like, how long are we sitting here? When are we going to eat? What's going to happen? And so finally in the afternoon, we left for Cyprus. Next slide.
So,
Oh, here I am, Brian. Okay, and then one more. Oops, Mac. That's okay.
so 9 at night, lined up at check-in, more waiting. Then 10:45 p.m., the flight was canceled. There were 1,500,
Go ahead.
1,500 students actually unexpectedly that arrived. Every hotel room was taken, and everybody was tired, they were cranky.
I just thought it was funny because we were with this big group of Christians that were on a mission and this big group of ultra-Orthodox people. These are the sweetest, nicest, most loving, giving, calm people throughout the whole process. Oh, no, you go first. No, you go first. Everyone's calm, cool. When they said this flight was canceled, there was such an uproar. All these people, it was really funny. Okay, so at this point, I texted my son and said, help, get me out of here. And I got this from him, a piece of it, but it was, okay, if you leave from this airport and go to Tampa, it's this much. If you leave from this airport and go to Orlando, it's this much. And some of them were 30 hours more traveling. One of them was $7,000. Everyone was upset. Everyone was in tears. The babies were screaming. It is now like 11:30 at night. 37 people from our trip slept on the floor in the airport. So
Many people left and found flights to their home states. We had a young lady, she was 21, 22, Sophia, very tech savvy. She found us a hotel about 45 minutes, 50 minutes away.
Yeah.
So all we wanted was bed and a shower.
Yep, next slide. So this is where we got to stay. We got in at 1:30 in the morning. We finally got a pretty full night's sleep, and I got my buffet breakfast, so I was happy. The hotel turned out to be lovely, and boy, did we need it.
So this is where we got the taxi, whatever, car to the airport. You can see there were 7 of us, that includes the driver. Unfortunately, when we had all of our luggage, he couldn't get the trunk open. So we had luggage sitting on all of us. I mean, big
He
luggage
was
as soon as
like
our lap.
holding the luggage
The
and
guy
driving.
had a hard time driving.
Okay, next.
Oh, yes, sorry. So this is some of the people waiting. I mean, everybody really was helpful there, particularly younger ones, just trying to console everybody. You know, this is our last trip home, supposedly. But there was a lot of loving kindness shown, caring for one another. And as you can see this quote here, basically, many came, you know, like ourselves, those to help individuals in need in Israel, not knowing that they would become actually the needy, those in need of refuge, safety, and evacuation. So there was more waiting lines,
Yep.
2 hours in line. Computers were overloaded. They had to do our tickets actually by hand. And we had to share batteries and chargers because they didn't have the outlets overseas there in the airports that we were using.
And next slide, we finally made it to the gate. We were so happy. Next slide. So,
We waited 3 hours on the plane, on the tarmac. Cyprus had 5,000 unexpected people.
so the plane could not take off. We waited and waited. And I was like really afraid that they were gonna say, I'm sorry, everybody off the plane. We're staying another day. It just was like, we were exhausted. And, but we didn't. We took off and the pilot said, all right, we're in the air. We're on our way to Tampa. And there was this big cheer and it was wonderful. And this is what we came back to.
A bit of a media frenzy. I think there was like 20 different social media outlets.
And this is Olivia. Finally got to meet Olivia. And then the next slide, we made national TV, national news. And I always laugh because I'm like, oh, the one time that I'm on national TV, no makeup, 75 hours of traveling, exhausted. Great. Okay, next.
That's the truth. So many of you have maybe seen this statement. Sometimes it's mistaken as a poem, but Martin Neumüller, he was a pastor in Germany in 1933. He was a critic of Hitler. And actually, this is a shortened version of this statement. And basically, it's an indictment of passivity and indifference during the Nazi era, during the Holocaust, primarily pointed at Germans. And it reads, first they came for the socialists, then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. And this goes back to what I mentioned earlier about Brian Stern's comment is don't be a spectator, be involved. You know, one thing that we didn't mention was our time in Jerusalem, for those of you that have traveled there was the mosque there. So, you know, typically that's not bombed. And also 80% of the country with the Iron Dome is safe, so to speak. But you never know.
You never know.
And, you know, there was some that maybe questioned. I mean, we could have stayed longer. The Cosmic group that was there stayed, I think, to the end of the month, 30 days. You know, we were there during the heart of the Iran-Israel war, so it was a little scary.
Our goal.
Okay, yes, our mission, actually today, and hopefully Kiwanis will invite Graybill Rescue to come and speak. They are an outstanding organization. If you can find in your heart to donate, they will go a long way in terms of what they do in the world. I'm not going to say now it's phenomenal, but we are going to show something to you in a minute here. We're going to have the QR code, but
So there are some brochures around, but it's the only ones that I had. So you're welcome to take a picture of the QR code, or you could just go to graybillrescue.org. And this is a little quick 2-minute video.
2 minutes.
About Graybill.
And we'll take questions afterwards.
Brian Stern behind Graybill Rescue.
Graybill Rescue.
Your specialty is rescues in disaster and conflict zones.
He is the Special Ops Army and Navy vet who founded Graybill Rescue in Tampa.
Stern's an Army and Navy veteran and a 9/11 first responder.
My team and I have done over 600 missions all over the world. We've rescued over 7,000 people from Hurricane Ian to Maui to Afghanistan to Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Gaza, Lebanon, all over the place, Sudan.
We like to say that we work at the speed of need. When Americans are stuck or in trouble, someone has to show up.
I would be dead if it wasn't for Brian. He saved my life.
Nobody ever thinks it can happen to them. No one wakes up and hopes to be rescued.
I couldn't get over what type of selfless people these people are.
They're the real deal.
Without Brian, I would still be there.
Knowing that we've saved these people from something that being caught in a war, conflict, it's very, very rewarding.
It feels amazing to bring American citizens home, our countrymen. These are our neighbors.
Graybill can't walk out of the parking lot without money, without donations. They can't fly overseas and help American. They can't pull a hurricane victim out without gas, chainsaws, vehicles, and donations pay for all that.
We can have all the things that we need, but if I can't afford to take a guess, it just sounds like a good movie. You know, it sounds like something that we watch on TV. And that's the one thing that I never, ever, ever, ever want to do when somebody needs help, is be a spectator.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it having us.
All right, it is a Bradenton Kiwanis tradition. You come sit over here, Neil, to present you guys with a golden ruler to measure your future success.
Great.
And Mac wants a picture.
Lemoyne's got to get back to this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. All right, and we got one more from Miss Ella, who did a great job today.
Thank you.
Round of applause for Ella. Thank you. Golden rule to measure your future success. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We'll see you all next week. Meeting adjourned.